So, um, what happens when people are truly allowed to communicate authentically? Without that exhausting pressure of performing for an audience that maybe doesn't quite get their
Yeah, it's a
language.
huge question. Yeah. Welcome to the deep dive. And today we're really focusing on, well, the often misunderstood world of autistic social communication.
Right. Specifically, how autistic individuals communicate with each other.
Exactly. And our main source for you today is a review of Sutherland et al., 2025. It was published in the Scandinavian Journal of Disability Research.
And our mission really is to unpack what this research shows, because it validates something many, many autistic people have, well, frankly, known for ages.
Mm.
That when autistic people talk to other autistic people,
Mhm.
it works.
And here's the kind of the aha moment right from the start. The study found that these conversations, they flow really richly, honestly, and without what the source calls the drag of performative accommodation.
That phrase really hits, doesn't it? That drag, like this constant burden of having to act or adjust yourself for someone else.
Precisely. It's exhausting.
So this isn't just some dry academic review we're doing here. It's more an exploration of inherent ways of being. It shows that this supposedly shocking finding
Mhm.
is really just, well, validating something that's already there.
Yeah, exactly. So let's dive into that first theme from the study: autistic self, attention, and environment.
Okay.
There's this line, maybe not directly from the paper, but it captures it perfectly. My eyes aren't avoiding you, they're busy listening.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it really speaks to how autistic attention can be, well, quite different from what we often think of as the neurotypical norm. It's not always that sharp laser pointer
Right.
focus.
So if it's not that narrow beam, what does it feel like? The study describes it more like a field, a gradient, a quietly shifting frequency.
Mm-hmm. Tuned by context, safety, light, noise, even heartbeat, memory. It's holistic, relational, somatic, full-bodied orientation, they call it.
A full-bodied orientation. So it's not just about where the eyes are looking, it's this whole person's experience of tuning in.
Exactly. And this kind of ambient, wide-ranging attunement is, well, it's often misunderstood by neurotypical people, isn't it?
Yeah, I can see that. It probably looks like distraction or maybe disinterest or even like a delay in getting it.
When actually it could be a really deep form of listening and engagement.
And the source goes even further, right? It suggests quite provocatively that eye contact, which is often seen as, the gold standard of paying attention,
Right.
it's sometimes seen by autistic people as a colonial construct. Wow, that's a strong phrase.
It is. The study uses it to talk about a norm that feels, well, culturally imposed and maybe even invasive. Rather than genuinely connecting, they describe it as loud or invasive, sometimes even a compulsory gesture of submission.
Loud,
Hmm.
invasive.
Yeah.
So it can actually break the connection instead of making it.
Yeah, potentially. And what's really fascinating here is how it points out that for autistic individuals, communication it's not just about the words spoken. It's deeply embodied. It's about regulation, posture, breath, blink, proximity, the whole self, almost like a dance unfolding in radial space.
A dance, where maybe the silences or movements like stimming hold just as much meaning as the words.
Precisely.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if that's how attention in this embodied communication works, what about the rules? The unspoken stuff, the assumptions we all bring, that takes us to the next theme, right? Expectations about social norms.
Yes. Or as the source, kind of, Riley puts it, the polite academic phrase for who the hell gets to decide what counts as normal anyway.
Yeah, I like that honesty. It really challenges this idea that there's only one normal way to talk.
Absolutely, because what feels right in an autistic conversation, it often looks quite different. It might involve circling around topics or having long silences that are actually active attention, not disconnection.
Not awkward pauses, but thinking pauses.
Right, and maybe a preference not to rush in and fill every single gap. There's an internal logic, a relational pacing that just doesn't line up neatly with typical neurotypical turn-taking rules. It's less of a competition, maybe.
The study uses that brilliant analogy here, doesn't it? Imagine a dance floor where the music is in 34,
Oh, yeah.
but someone insists on marching in 44 and then blames you for being out of step.
That just nails it, doesn't it? It perfectly shows the challenge when the social norms weren't built for your timing, your rhythm.
And those expectations, they aren't just abstract rules in your head. They actually show up physically, right?
Yeah.
In the tone, the pressure, the volume. Even just the tension of trying to speak in a language, a grammar, that feels foreign.
Exactly. It's like trying to play chess when everyone else is playing checkers and then getting told off for not understanding the game.
Yeah. And this often leads to autistic differences, the instincts, the timing being pathologized, seen as lacking social skills.
Instead of just being seen as different, it becomes a deviation from this unspoken typical value, leading to judgment, constant correction.
Which leads us straight into the third theme then, conflict with neurotypical expectations.
Mhm.
The source calls it the tragic comedy of mismatched norms. You can almost picture it, can't you? This, like, organically flowing autistic conversation, spacious silences, maybe humming.
Yeah, a real flow.
And then a neurotypical person comes in and, well, metaphorically starts rearranging the furniture.
Right. And what's really poignant here is that this conflict, it often isn't coming from a bad place, from malice. It's more from this deep learned certainty that the neurotypical way is the right way, the only way.
So the autistic harmony gets reframed as, like, dysfunction.
Yeah.
Simply because it doesn't match those outside expectations.
Exactly. And you see those common criticisms autistic people get. Too intense, too literal, not engaged enough, hard to follow, inappropriate, off topic. These are really structural criticisms, aren't they? They're critiquing the very framework, the operating system, not necessarily the content itself.
And it's like the neurotypical observer often doesn't even realize that their own presence, their own expectations have already changed the whole dynamic of the space.
That's a key point. But here's the revelation, the really crucial part. When it's just autistic people interacting,
Yeah?
these misunderstandings often just dissolve. A pause is just a pause. A delayed response means someone's thinking. The ground stops shifting, as the source puts it.
The ground stops shifting. Wow.
Ooh.
Oh, it must feel like such a relief. But it really highlights the cost then of constantly trying to fit into those neurotypical expectations.
Oh, absolutely. Autistic people often find themselves having to script, translate, buffer, and soften their communication just to avoid being corrected all the time.
And in doing that, they lose something, don't they? This study says they lose clarity, rhythm, some shape of ourselves.
It's a profound kind of self-editing, yeah.
Which brings us, I guess, to theme 4, compensation and masking.
Right. Masking. The study calls it defensive choreography. A really complex set of behaviors just aimed at protecting yourself.
Defensive choreography. I like that. It's also described as a constant translation tax, isn't it?
Yeah, like the energy cost of constantly having to convert your natural way of communicating into something a neurotypical person might understand better, or even an anticipatory flinch.
Anticipatory flinch, like
Huh?
you're already bracing for the negative reaction before it even happens.
Exactly. And this constant masking, it leads to, well, huge exhaustion and what the study calls an erosion of the self.
Erosion of the self.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds really painful.
Participants describe constantly monitoring themselves, trying to be smaller, managing facial expressions, curating reactions, just to avoid making the neurotypical person do the interpretive labor.
Wow, so you're doing all the work. And this chipping away of everything that might be seen as too much, like too much joy, too much focus, too long a pause, too many gestures.
Right, all that authenticity.
That's often seen as success by neurotypical standards, right? Like,
Mm.
oh, they're fitting in so well. But inside, for the autistic person, it creates this haunting, the study calls it.
Mm-hmm. So masking becomes, yeah, a form of survival, but the cost is huge, isn't it, to
Yeah.
your authentic self?
So the absence of that masking labor then, when autistic people communicate with each other,
Hmm.
that becomes presence. Not performing becomes actual connection, being real.
Yes. And masking doesn't just cover up expression, it actually mutes desire. It dampens that natural impulse to connect, which can lead to silence, distance, and, well, profound loneliness.
That's heartbreaking.
But the study does sort of gently point towards the possibility of communicating without that heavy tax, of living unmasked, unmuted.
Imagine the freedom in that.
Yeah.
And that possibility, it leads us really nicely into theme 5, creating shared understandings.
Right. This is about that feeling of relief, that ease when autistic people interact with each other. The source describes it beautifully. The walls don't disappear,
Yeah.
but they stop pressing in so hard.
You can almost feel that, can't you? The air shift, the rhythm changes.
Yeah.
You can just be.
Yeah. Participants reported not needing to work so hard, experiencing a connection that felt, mutual, co-created. And it leads to this deep sense of coherence that comes from shared difference.
Shared difference. I like that. And this is where the double empathy theory comes in, right?
Exactly. It suggests that the communication gap isn't just an autistic deficit. It's more like a mutual difficulty in understanding across different communication styles.
So like a two-way street where maybe both sides struggle to read the other's signal sometimes, not just one side failing.
Precisely. And for people who live this, it's such a profound relief. It's like finding out, oh, you've just always been talking across a canyon that you didn't dig.
Wow, that's powerful. The study gives such a vivid picture of this authentic communication too, doesn't it? Loops, tangents, metaphors stretched past breaking.
Mm-hmm. Whole gestalts offered up.
No request to clarify, no forced eye contact, no false smiling, just receiving.
Just receiving.
Yeah.
Yeah. The pauses, the echoes, the silences, they weren't awkward. They became space.
It felt like coming home to a language I didn't know I knew how to speak. That's just beautiful.
It really is. And what's fascinating here is this idea of resonance as the key to that shared understanding.
Resonance.
Yeah, the source uses an electronics analogy, which I think is quite helpful. It says, when two signals meet in balance, maximum energy transfer, minimum resistance.
Okay.
That's what autistic-to-autistic communication can feel like, not just being heard, but being matched. The circuit sings.
The circuit sings,
Oh.
like finding the perfect wavelength where everything just clicks. No static, no interference, just clear communication flowing back and forth.
Exactly, and it's such a stark contrast to what the source calls oscillating on station.
Oscillating on station, what's that?
It's like you're generating immense effort just to stay visible, to be intelligible, but nothing's really transmitting cleanly. All this energy is spent, but nothing's truly received. It's like a dead line, no resonance.
Ah, I see. That feeling of talking, but not really connecting.
Right. But when that resonance does happen, when the system clicks into alignment, that's the profound shift.
Okay, so pulling this all together, what does this really mean for us, for you listening? The core implication seems really clear from this deep dive.
It is. Communication failure is not a deficit, but a mismatch.
Right. Not poor communication, but poor recognition.
Not brokenness, but difference and often coherence.
And then the source says it so bluntly. The problem isn't our speech.
Yeah.
It's your ears.
How? Yeah. Now, of course, as with any research, we have to look at the boundaries, the limitations.
Sure.
This study, while really insightful, it involved a relatively small sample, just 9 adults, and they were mostly white, from what's called a high-context monoculture.
Meaning a very specific cultural group where maybe a lot is unspoken
Yeah.
and just understood within that group.
Exactly. So while the findings resonate powerfully, we need to remember it's a specific snapshot. There's always more to learn across different contexts, different cultures.
And the source itself asks that crucial question, doesn't it? Does this current, this resonance, apply more universally? Would, say, an African-American autistic woman or a queer autistic person in the rural South or a non-speaking autistic teen in Jakarta, would they feel that same kind of recognition? Maybe not in every single word, but in that underlying current.
It's a really important question. It feels like this inherent way of connecting might just transcend those specific demographics.
Yeah, it feels like it could. And what might this study have missed, just by its nature?
Well, maybe deeper, more subtle things like autistic time or unique flow states, or even that quiet grief of trying to speak at your own natural tempo in a world that's just misaligned.
Those complex embodied experiences that are just really hard to capture in a formal study, but are so real for so many people.
Exactly.
But the real implication here, I think, beyond the academic findings, is about understanding ourselves fully. It's about fostering mutual regard and recognizing I see you, not because you mirror me, but because you don't. And we can still build something amazing from that difference.
Beautifully put. It's about acknowledging that autistic people were never speaking wrongly. They were speaking in resonance, just waiting for others to stop trying to retune them and maybe start tuning with them.
And so, yeah, we come full circle. This study, for all its academic weight, it didn't really discover something brand new.
Whoa.
It validated something old, a knowing, a feeling that many autistic individuals have carried quietly inside them their whole lives.
Its real significance lies in that simple, powerful affirmation, yes, this counts too. There's a kind of grace in that validation, isn't there? A small exhale of relief for so many.
Yeah. And maybe also, as the source notes, a flicker of grief. That it took so long for something so obvious to those experiencing it to be formally recognized.
Yeah.
And that it might still be ignored in so many places.
That too. Yeah, that grief is real.
But for those who live it, it lands. It hums, it resonates, because, as the study affirms so beautifully,
The circuit was always
the
there.
frequency never changed.
What looked like silence was signal waiting for match.
Wow. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other silent signals are we all missing in our own lives, in the world around us, simply because we haven't learned how to tune into different frequencies?
As the study itself echoes, just powerfully and profoundly, we already knew, we already knew, we already knew, and now, so do you.